Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
good.
is that working?
Yes.
Okay, so 23 question mark right here, I sent it to you on Facebook.
I didn't get cheesecake, I get, because I got.
Okay, well, I don't do Facebook Messenger.
5 days.
I only do email. And your email is full again,
It's,
because I tried to send you something.
Oh, David, I'll be back there.
Dude, I already have my speaker.
Karen's not
I also,
here.
grandma sends me every single, like, not every single, but like, most of the time she does on her iPad.
Dad said we have to, yeah.
So,
Yeah, you do.
they take up so much storage, so it's like,
Well, your
every
family
time
gets
I'm
like
in,
a
I
certain
go
amount
through.
of time.
Oh,
You
yes.
can divvy it
Yeah.
up however you want between the three of you.
I remember that.
So if I get this to you, will my grade go back up?
Yes, I just need it, that's all. So, yeah, if you send that to me, and here's the one you emailed to me. So if you could send that to me, that'd be great. And I will grade it, so that's not a problem. Okay, homework that's due.
It might
This
come from
one?
my sister's
Yes.
email, because hers might work where mine isn't. So,
Huh?
does anybody know anywhere that hires at 15?
No place.
Pearson!
No, they don't.
In that case, I got one option. It's an ice cream stand. Our friends meet.
Actually, wait, no, there is somewhere, but I forget what it's called. Crap.
Okay.
Oshers and Cal Fulton. That's probably where.
Guys, we're having youth group at Swenson's sometime this summer. I'm
Ooh,
so
that'd be
excited.
fun.
I'm confused.
I know you are.
That will be fun.
I want to go to
Right.
Couple weeks ago,
What's
So last Swenson's is real one like the
Best fast food chain of life.
well because if
Half of
you
my youth group has
if-
never had Swenson.
if you don't live in the right part of town,
Okay, true.
you don't notice them.
True. Yeah, for real, guys.
Now, the thing is, the neat thing about Swenson, about 2-3 weeks ago, I got to go there they were testing new
Oh, yeah,
products.
we heard that. We don't like that.
I asked to do that again last week. They were testing new milkshakes,
Oh,
but I didn't get to go. They had the caramel group and the chocolate group. I was like, oh, I wish I could go.
Why did they ask you again?
My friend of mine who works here, his daughter-in-law is like a VP over at Swenson, so he gets all the emails saying, hey, we're doing another taste test. You got any friends that want to come?
Yes.
Yes, we do. News, anything in the news?
Guardians of the Galaxy made 146 million.
Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow.
Talk about economics. It's a big
Oh
my
economic.
gosh, I'm gonna go see Pirates of the Caribbean, the new one, because I want to.
I
Have you seen did you see the other 4?
Yeah, of course. I'm like a Johnny Depp and everyone else nerd. I've never
Okay.
gone to Pirates of the Caribbean.
And
Not
you're
everybody, not
If
everybody.
you're really a Johnny Depp nerd, have you watched him in the original 21 Jump Street?
Yes. See, I told you. Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, and Johnny Depp are amazing people.
Dude,
And
all I have to say
yeah.
is like,
Who are these
Did I see it
people?
right?
They're actors.
Keira Knightley, she was in Pride and Prejudice. Orlando Bloom, he's in Sony News. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Keira
Legolas in
Legolas, yes, yes.
Oh,
my
no.
gosh.
What boss?
Legolas from Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
That's-
Well, not technically.
I'm the next one.
Guys,
Wait,
he's not in the book. He's just, no.
Oh, sorry, he's not.
Yeah, but he's already
Orlando
added
Bloom.
in.
yeah, he was added
Just
in.
because he's so great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I understand what he was trying to do in that part of the movie. He's trying to make a connection between the Hobbit and the whole, that everything was more intertwined than what they say. Is Orlando Bloom in the new Pirates of the Caribbean?
Neither is Keira Knightley.
I thought for sure I saw him in one of the previews,
I don't think so.
making a cameo.
Cause it's Johnny Depp and then this other person that I don't like, but I forget who it is.
I can play parties or not.
I like the guy who plays the bad guy in the new Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my favorite actors.
He's scary. He looks scary. Wait, what's his name? Like, what's his
I don't know,
actual
I
name?
I don't know.
I can't think of his,
Cause I think I know who you're talking about, but
he played the bad guy in the third Bond movie.
I was not. I saw the other ones, but.
He's just really a great actor.
I see Pirates of the Caribbean gifts all over Pinterest, and some of them are really funny.
My favorite is, of course, Where'd All the Rum Go? You guys have seen that, right?
Where's the rum gone?
Vice Rump.
I don't get it.
Pirates
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean joke. I don't get it either.
This is like one of my favorites.
Guys, I'm just gonna have a movie night, we're gonna watch all of these movies, because
After we have a Marvel movie marathon and we watch all the Captain America movies.
I've already done
Oh,
that.
there's 3 of them.
I'm
No,
not
well, then we
staying
can
all-
technically include both the Avengers.
You might as well make it like an overnight thing where you all just stay up all night and watch all the
I'm
movies.
having an American Pie marathon. I'm just kidding.
What?
I don't get this. I still don't.
I don't get it
will never
either.
get it, So we're.
You're not alone. I don't get it either.
Oh, well, I guess that's
Oh,
our
are we
best
starting?
way, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Because no one.
Sorry.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't do anything else.
Oh, North Korea's detaining people.
They're always detaining people.
Oh, they are? Okay,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and they failed every single time. It's like a
Ah.
Yeah, I know too.
All right,
So
let's
I'm watching it. I didn't quit
You
thinking
can
of
enjoy Adobe Flash Player. I can read words backwards and upside down.
I would win.
I can like do those words like upside down.
I'm doing
I
videos
would
on
Did you
YouTube.
know Neil A is alien backwards?
No.
It is.
Come on, let's see
Was
the
what-
play.
Did he go to the moon or was he sent back to the moon?
How was the 2 minutes?
I just like it.
It's a remix.
This is from Pirates of the Caribbean. If it is, I'm just gonna guess it's from it.
Apple problems.
Uh-huh. Pretty much. Okay, so let's just do this. Go ahead.
My HP computer would do
Well,
it.
you know, whose phone charged last night? Whose phone charged last night?
Not mine.
My phone was charging all night.
That's a nice picture.
So let's, what's in the news?
Mine charged.
Stuff.
That was
That's
the
why mine
joke.
didn't charge.
No, that was the joke. That's why he said, what, whose phone?
Yeah, Trump's writing
Oh,
a bunch
okay, now
of
I
executive orders.
Problem is, they can be repealed by any further president, so they
Right.
basically don't do anything.
Correct, which is what Obama has learned because Trump is repealing all of his stuff through executive orders as well.
We're just making the same mistake that Obama made by repealing Obama's mistakes.
Yeah, because the next president that comes in office could do the same thing that Trump's doing. This is something that's been going on for a long period of time. So, it's not unusual for one president to change things that another president has done. I mean, Obama did it to Bush. Bush did it to Clinton. Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody knows. If somebody
Let's see
hasn't,
if
I
it'll
would
play
be
now.
very
Is
confused.
that all of your apps, or are they just spread out like that?
those are just documents, temporary. I use my desktop as a temporary place to store things that I'm currently working on.
Is that what they total look at?
I'm almost done with your journey.
What?
That hurt my soul on the deep level.
Oh, you ought to see other people's stuff. Oh my goodness.
No. Like, my desktop is so perfect, it goes up this side and down that side, and that's it.
Okay,
And then my
so,
sister's is like all spread out.
Mine is like on one side of the screen now.
So about every 6 months, I go through and, and clean up the desktop and remove all my stuff. Okay,
Like, the only things I use on my computer are Google and Word.
Why do you use Word? Google Docs is so much better.
yeah, well, but
Damn that!
here you go.
The only thing that's the problem is you can't like organize everything. It's not exactly.
Have you guys ever seen this?
yeah.
This is pretty creative.
I love the Teletubbies.
There's the Teletubbies that is so cute.
Yes!
Have you guys seen the, Why Dog House is actually a Teletubby? YouTube.
No, we like to listen to songs. The Teletubbies not just.
You have to see it, it's genius.
That's pretty
They're taking
awesome.
the hobbits to Isengard. And that's the other one.
It's the best one of my life.
Nothing better than
Brother-
making fun of Orlando Bloom and,
But you know how to decide.
okay, so what else is in the news?
What was it? One of the other airlines had another issue with passengers. It was
Yeah.
like, the couple had like two younger kids and then like a teenage son. Teenage son took a different flight, so they would use the ticket for one of the younger kids. And so there was some issue made over that.
Yeah, they actually, I heard that, the family paid for a ticket, they overbooked. They paid for the ticket for the child, they made the child sit in the parent's lap. And the parents are like, look, I paid for the seat. Well, too bad. So, yeah. Oh, Iran tests, fires high-speed torpedo. Of course, the other one we were talking about earlier today was the possibility of North Korea with an EMP. It's got 2 satellites above us that they have available that they're potentially could be used in an EMP attack, which would of course knock out all electronics in the area affected. If you watch the movie GoldenEye, the Bond movie GoldenEye, you'll see the effects of an EMP. They actually use one in the movie. You can build yourself your own Faraday cage and protect all your electronics in it, or maybe live in it. So it's kind of, would be kind of cool. Science experiment for homeschoolers. Build a Faraday cage, and what's the other one? A Stirling engine. It's an interesting type of engine that uses a single piston. You can actually build it out of PVC. It doesn't actually burn anything. You actually heat up and into the tube with some sort of process, and it causes decrease of pressure. And so this thing makes the piston fire.
It would actually be really interesting to see everybody in America lose all electricity and stuff.
Where would you get your food?
That's exactly why it would be interesting.
A lot of people would starve to death. There'd be riots in the cities. Mass chaos! Well, actually, a lot of our military bases are already EMP hardened, so they'd be okay. What was it Bill Murray said? Cats and dogs getting along, mass hysteria. Ghostbusters, for those of you who don't know. I haven't seen the original Ghostbusters.
I've heard it's not.
I don't eat the
I've
steak.
never
I
watched
made
it.
everything without the steak.
It's beautiful. I'm saying, you want some food? There's a nice little storage container.
What is it they say in
You want some food? I have enough food to feed myself for like a solid month. Just of local.
How? How?
Well,
I
I
have
have
food
about-
for me for like a day.
I have like 7 boxes of juice boxes, like 2 or 3 bottles, like big bottles of glucose tabs, and about 400 granola bars.
So here, this is, I was telling you about,
That's
you want to build something that can make
One thing.
electricity and market it, here you go. This is an example of a Stirling engine.
Just it's translated back into cool air, the piston goes back and forth in here.
So it's a little piston
2-degree difference
with a heat source
down here,
that you heat up,
and the flywheel.
and then you got a cooling side. This is where the air gets cooled.
Actually, all the difference you're seeing in how far the piston moves is all that it takes.
So let's see if he fires it up. So there it's heating up. He's heating up the one end where the hot air is. And then he gets as soon as he gets the engine started, it'll just continue to run. And it'll get faster and faster and faster. Now think about this, if you could hook up electricity to this, you could hook up a generator, and all you'd have to do is create some sort of tube system in your fireplace. And you could actually then create your own electricity while you're doing your fireplace. 3 3,000 RPM. So that's the Stirling engine is considered one of the most efficient engines available. The problem is it's not doable in an automotive setting, but that's the Stirling engine.
They first had the automotive engines, is that why they had the crane started?
No, the first automobile engines was still a standard gasoline generated piston. But if you think about your locomotives, your early locomotives, you were heating up steam and using the steam to generate force on those pistons that would then drive the wheel on the original. So very, very close to the similar principles of a Stirling engine, but not quite. But you could actually take one of those and make it into a, again, you could do your own generator for your house. So, you lose power like I did on Saturday. It would have been nice to turn my Stirling engine on and be able to have electricity so I could run the vacuum cleaner and do the, let's see, I was sanding and I needed to vacuum up all the stuff before I painted. And the power went out just before I went to vacuum, so I was like,
Did you guys have like a really bad storm? How did you do something?
somebody's tree fell on the telephone pole.
Okay. Also, it's just your steer, I was making sure it was like normal.
No, it's just part of it. So. Anything else in the news? Not really.
I graduated, but I still didn't go.
Yes. But you still have 2 more classes here to go.
That coming next week.
What is the next one?
You're gonna miss all the fun.
Come the last week.
Wait, there's 2 more Mondays?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Rude. Okay, I'll be here next week.
Yeah.
Or no, I'll skip it next week. Come in the last week.
Can we have food the last week?
Yes.
I always bring food the last week.
Oh, ice cream.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Oh, please make some of it dairy free. I have allergies to wheat.
I know you do.
Oh, Mom told you?
No, you told me.
Oh,
Several times.
okay.
I'm just, yes,
Like something I would.
you have told me,
Oh,
so I do know.
right.
How?
forgot.
I can't do this. I can't go to 2 more classes.
Yes, you can.
Emily, you're survived. Just think about it.
I want to
It's
skip
worth it.
today.
All you have to do
Yeah.
is see us all.
But I'm here.
Emily, you want us to see us all 4 more times, then you go away to college and don't see us for 4 years. Think about it. It's totally worth it.
Oh, look, you're coming
Make
down,
memories.
right?
Is it really worth it?
It's worth it because she's coming down.
Okay,
Hey, my cousins and friends are coming down sometime next year. Come down and visit.
Of course.
I didn't sign up.
what
She
school?
says no.
That's cool.
Pensacola.
Yeah, the chances of my parents letting me go to college in Florida are about the same as them letting us.
Hey, my mom was not okay with it either, but
No.
she said, God said, so.
The only thing my parents aren't okay with it is because my mom's best friend lives like 3 hours.
Oh, I have sons
So, like,
in Canada that live like 4 or 6
I have,
hours.
Well, and also, all depends on who's paying for it.
that's
I've been
why
trying to get my kids to move away for a long time, they still can't stay here.
Why? Sounds like my dad.
My parents maybe let me go to Constitutional College in Michigan. Maybe.
Hey,
So there's.
I'm not, my mom was like, hey, go to Florida.
Right.
Your mom was like, go to Florida.
Yeah, I'm talking about it in a couple of years.
I was gonna say,
I
my
was
mom
like-
did go with that.
I was like,
One more year and then I might go to college.
You guys don't have to worry, the world's ending in 3 years, so it won't matter.
again?
So I should just skip college.
Okay, the last time that happened, the next day my cousin got married, so we'll probably have another wedding.
That's right. Okay, so, let's see, we're doing chapter 31, international trade. The global economy, when we look at the global economy, of course, we look at a nation's imports versus exports. One of the big things that's always talked about a lot is, well, we have a trade deficit with China. How do we have a trade deficit with China? What does that mean, to have a trade deficit with China? Something.
There's a deficit in the trade with China.
Oh, very good, that's good. When they talk about the trade deficit means that we buy more of their goods than they buy of ours. So there's a lot of people who say, well, we want a balanced trade. We want them to buy the same amount of goods that we buy from them. is that really what we want? Is that really attainable? Of course, we could say there's over 1 billion Chinamen, then what we would have is, shouldn't they be buying more of us? Because there's only like 300 and some million of us, they should be buying more of our stuff. Problem is we're much wealthier than they are, so therefore, we buy more of their products. But when you talk about trade deficit, it almost sounds like, well, gee, we're buying all their stuff and we're not getting anything in return. No, actually, they are, or we are. We get the product, which has a value. They get money, which has a value. So in actuality, if we think about it, there is no deficit. I mean, if you really think about it that way, you buy goods. The only thing that's wrong is they get money and we get cheap plastic stuff that has no value.
It does the parents of wine and toddlers, if they get them the toy, they will,
And for about 5 minutes.
For about 5
until they
minutes,
see something else that they
that's
want.
exactly
but that
right.
5 minutes could be worth the world after
That-
a day of,
right.
mommy.
The reason why I bring this up is trade deficits are not the big issue that a lot of times some people want to make them out to be. You have to, again, look past the surface answers and look at what it really means and what the importance of it is. Why do we trade with other nations? Well, we get goods that we cannot build or buy and make ourselves. Well, in many cases, there's nothing we can't make in the United States. So why do we buy from China? Why is it that we buy a lot of products from China? Cheaper, sweatshops, yes. They basically, in some respects, have lower standards for their workers because they're a communist country. The other thing is remember, we used to, when I was growing up, we used to buy a lot of stuff. It came from China, but it said on it, Hong Kong. Why? Because Hong Kong was actually under the protection of Great Britain during that time frame. There was a treaty between Great Britain and China that then, when that treaty was over, China took possession of Hong Kong again. So no longer do things say made in Hong Kong, they're made in China. Well, luckily for China, that they saw that Hong Kong was, wow, this is a great opportunity. Look at how much money they're bringing in to our country. We need to take these same principles and same ideas from Hong Kong and put them in these other spots in our country. So the communist Chinese government started changing some of their philosophies and ideas. And so this is why there's been since Tiananmen Square, there's not really been the revolution in China that went through Russia and the fall of communism there. It's because the communists in China actually learned economic principles. And you learn to use those capitalistic free market principles to keep themselves in power. And one of the big things is that they've done is they basically said, listen, we're not going to cap. If you can make money, we're going to let you make money. And people are allowed to make as much money as they want. The problem that you have in China, anybody heard of the ghost cities in China?
I've seen them.
The problem is with China is what they have is they have to keep their people employed. That's one of the problems that they have with over 1 billion people there is as communism, you have to keep everyone employed or otherwise they'll start dragging down the economy. So they build these cities that have nobody living in them. They're beautiful too, but they got to keep their customers working. So I have friends who worked for Goodyear and would go over to China and be involved in the Goodyear factories in China. And they would see all these really nice apartment buildings over there that nobody lived in, even in some of their bigger cities. It's just the way it is. Yes?
Random chance, my grandparents worked for Goodyear, do you know Ed Sicoli or Barbara Sicoli?
No, Goodyear's such a big,
Just
big
thought maybe there was
company.
a random chance.
No, so the economy in China is a very interesting study if you get into economics and want to look at something like that. I wouldn't recommend it, economics, unless you have a real drawing towards it. Let's see, so the other things is buy many things at lower cost, which is why we trade with China, sell our goods to foreigners, raise our standard of living. You know, one of the things, the reason why Apple builds their iPhones in China is because they can build them cheaper, but then at the same time, they can sell them at the higher rate and make enormous amounts of profit, which is nice because hopefully you've invested in Apple when it was like $10 a share, and it's now, I don't know what the last worth was, but you'd be worth have a lot of money. Fortunately, I didn't do that 12 years ago. Very disappointing. Should have. Of course, I didn't have any money to do it anyway, so it didn't matter. Let's see, keep our farms and industries healthy. We do a lot of exporting of food from here in the United States. We create jobs for U.S. workers, support and oppose other nations. So one of the things that we do a lot of is, of course, we had the oil embargo in the 70s. We had the grain embargo on the Russians when they needed grain to make vodka. No, I don't know, I'm just kidding. It might have been for something else, but probably vodka too. So you have, you know, we supply a lot of the food around the world. You know, California is one place that's considered the breadbasket of the world. Of course, and of course we've got Coke, which we sell with high fructose corn syrup, because of big sugar. Big sugar has tariffs on our food coming in. Again, part of trade, international trade, is that big sugar here in the United States has a high tariff on sugar imports. So that does what? It inflates the prices of sugar grown domestically. So therefore, all of our soda companies and all of our candies and stuff like that use high fructose corn syrup.
Okay, that makes me so mad, because it's just absurd. Do they know what that is doing to our bodies?
I don't think they
Just because
care.
of stupid prices.
Well, and they probably dispute you that that's
It tastes
not
good.
necessarily the reason, and they would probably say science doesn't prove that high fructose corn syrup causes the problems that it does.
I've been eating it for
Science.
17 and a half years. now.
Huh?
I mean, I've been eating it for 17 and a half years and I'm still healthy.
Yeah, wait till you're in your 40s. And again, you know, some people I know people who have smoked for 70 years and never had lung cancer. So our body chemistry is all different. Yes, Mikhail.
Okay,
She has to say something.
Yeah, she always.
I
didn't let her tell the story earlier,
I
because
was
she's
so
dying.
salty about that. Okay, so,
She'll be salty for a while.
okay, okay, so my
Each
grandpa, he's smoked since he was like 2 years old, not really, but you know, long
Yeah.
time.
Long time.
And so every time I go over there, he's like, oh, I gotta go outside to like have a puff or whatever, and I was like, okay, like, that's what I always say, I'm just like, okay, grandpa, have fun. And so one time she came in, he's like, no, smoking does absolutely nothing terrible for you. I'm like, really? Okay. How many heart attacks have you had? How many things, problems with your lungs have you had? He's like, that's not because of smoking. It's because of I ate this bad, like I had food poisoning. I'm like, yeah, it's so funny. And he'll like have this whole list of things that is not smoking that cause all these things. Like, you're hilarious. Like he had like 2 strokes or something. And I'm like, you know.
How old is he?
Yeah, 78 or something like that.
Okay, that might explain it though.
I mean, yeah, and it's funny.
Yeah, my grandpa.
Oh, there was a guy who
had
had,
heart attacks and stuff, and he never smoked. So,
No, because the
Good
doctors,
thing.
no, I'm not saying from me, it's from the doctors, because they're like, it's because you smoke, you need to stop smoking. He's like, no, it's because of, he's like,
because of food poisoning.
yeah, it's so funny to me, I'm like, you're the greatest.
No, I agree with you. I
Did you
just think
know
it's funny.
that smoking actually reduces the risk of death after a heart attack?
Really good.
Okay, interesting.
Still not smoking. I
That's
think
why he's still alive after all those heart attacks.
Yeah, this is why he's still alive, you know?
so see, that's some of the, you know, these are things that, you know, people will do. Lifesavers. Do you know lifesavers are made in Canada? They used to be made here in the United States.
I thought you said lifesavers, and I was like, what?
Why don't I have one?
Oh,
Lifesavers,
they
the
did.
candy.
Gotcha.
They're made in Canada because they didn't want to use high fructose corn syrup, they used real sugar.
Okay,
And so they make them in Canada. They used to be made in the United States.
it is,
So,
slightly.
again, when you look at
State versus.
global economies, tariffs and stuff like that have an impact on local economies as well. Because of the tariff to protect sugar and the price of sugar and keep the price of sugar high actually cost manufacturing jobs for because Lifesaver moved their manufacturing to Canada so that they could be able to use real sugar. So who benefits from international trade? One of the things, of course, we got absolute advantage, speculation, and comparative advantage. These are things that they covered in the chapter. Everybody benefits really from international trade. The problem that you run into, though, is, of course, if you are trading with an unstable country, is that if that country runs into problems, then you may be without a resource. So that has been one of the reasons why the United States has been so strong, is its diversity in resources available here. Our oil, our coal, in fact, the fact that we have some of the cleanest burning coal in the world here in the United States. Those kinds of things have a huge impact on our own economy. You know, in China, they actually have video pictures of the sun rising and setting put up in areas of town because the smog is so bad in some of these cities, they never see the sun. And so they know this has psychological problems. Did you see that at all?
Like, there were some days, like, at our apartments that you couldn't even see the ground, and this was like in a 20-story building.
Right, that's how bad the smog is. It's like living in LA. No, I'm just kidding.
The smog over there is bad, like one day you can have a clear day and the next day you can.
Right.
Okay,
So you were gonna say?
before we move too far away from the pop zone, Blue Sky, this wonderful company that makes it without high fructose corn syrup, unless it says organic, they make it with genetically modified beet sugar.
So does everybody. I mean, that's what everybody does.
So it's not one or the other.
It's not much better, or at least for me, it isn't much better.
It's not much better at all.
Well, we could get into the discussion on the genetically modified stuff. Almost everything farm related today, everything you eat is genetically modified, unfortunately.
And then they can sue, they patented.
That's why they patented it.
And then it cross-pollinates with the farms next to it that aren't genetically modified, so they sue that farm,
Correct,
which just
and they
went out
win.
without it.
Right. Yeah, and they've actually won in those cases because they have more expensive lawyers. So yes. That's why if you can, invest in those, what is it? The natural seed pods or whatever. There's a whole bank. There is buried, I think it was up in the Antarctic. They've got vaults of the original seeds for a lot of these things. Do you know they're saying that actually in a number of years that the banana will go away?
Why? I like bananas and I like banana bread.
Because of the genetic problems that with the banana will no longer be able to pollinate and create banana plants anymore.
No.
I'm gonna die when they die,
Yeah.
just so you all know.
Regulating international trade. We've already kind of talked about this. Some of the things that they can do is
I'll be there to bury all.
we do inspections of stuff coming across. Occasionally you'll hear in the news that when we were having any of you guys remember the mad cow disease? There was this disease where the cows were being infected with this virus. So because of this,
2 days ago.
a number of, was there a story on that? This was a number of years ago.
I don't know, I just remember hearing about the bad cow disease like under 3 days ago.
Oh, that'd be interesting, actually some foreign countries refuse to accept any of our beef because of the fear of mad cow disease.
Eric talked about it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So that's how we do customs inspections, you know, we try to do things to keep certain things out. Kinder eggs, customs inspection, you're not allowed to have a Kinder egg.
What's a Kinder Egg?
My
A
grand-
Kinder egg is a chocolate egg, in the center of it is a toy. It is illegal in the United States because it could be a choking hazard and some poor child could die. You can buy them. You can buy them in Canada, but do not try to bring them back across the border because you could get arrested.
Alright, so here's what
They're illegal
we're going
here.
on a class field trip to Canada and see if we can successfully smuggle them in.
Yes. No.
You can smuggle them in by eating them first and then
Exactly.
bringing back the toy.
See?
So you just enjoy it.
He lives in Canada, so.
Yeah.
You could just like throw one across the border.
So that,
Okay, bring me back.
one of, Mark Stein, who's a guest host for Rush Limbaugh, he went on a 20-minute tirade one day on the show about government regulations. He's from Canada. They live, I think, in either Vermont or New Hampshire, and his wife and kids didn't realize that Kinder eggs were illegal in the United States. So they were coming across the border and got caught with them. They detained them for hours, grilling them on questions and stuff.
You wouldn't think that. It's just chocolate.
They were gonna get fined like tens of thousands of dollars for trying to bring these stupid eggs across. You can't even sign a waiver saying you will not sell these. I mean, I think that we have more inspection for Kinder eggs than we do for drugs.
We do.
So,
Louisville had security from the north border to the south border, and everything will be allowed.
Oh,
but just build the wall.
The kids.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's a serious issue.
Mexicans can be good climbers.
That's why okay, so somebody came up with the greatest idea. We built the Trump wall, and on top of the Trump wall is a new hotel that spans the entire length of the wall. So you can go up and stay at the hotel and actually watch and see if the illegals are making it across
I
the
would
border.
stay there.
That's awesome.
Hotel there.
Okay, so.
Just an idea. And maybe then, rather than the Mexicans pay for it, Trump will pay for it. It'll be the Trump wall
The Trump Hotel as well.
and the Trump Hotel.
Just hopefully a criminal doesn't get up inside your hotel room and murder you or worse.
Criminals can do that anyway.
Yeah, you can do that anywhere.
I know,
Just go to a hotel in Chicago. Just be careful where you go in Chicago.
Wait, what do you mean? Chicago's safe, just don't go there alone.
Yeah.
Chicago is like one of the gun capitals of the country.
Yeah, he's moving like in August there.
Who is?
Okay, my friend Jared. Oh, Jared Archer.
Oh,
Archer.
Yeah, he's
oh,
moving
that's
there.
right,
I was
he's going to
like,
Moody.
yeah.
He's gonna be a Moody man.
Yeah.
The other thing that we can do, we can have tariffs. One of the things that Trump is threatened Mexico with is a 20% tariff on all goods coming across the Mexican border to pay for the wall. Well, you know, Mexico, the problem that you run into when you ever have tariffs like this is other countries will then come back and bring about their own tariffs so that you can't sell your goods across the border to them. So you gotta be careful about, one, of course, protecting your own economy. It's a real balance, but also then protecting or not escalating in a war. If you look at history, anytime the US has put about a tariff, and a lot of times it was on cotton or stuff like that during our agricultural time, that other countries like Great Britain and France and these other countries would retaliate by doing their own tariff, and guess what would happen? We'd have a depression, a downturn in the economy. So you have to be careful administering tariffs. It's just the same thing as balancing what the level is of your taxes. You don't want, you know, the automotive industry is huge on saying, well, we need to protect American jobs. You know, the automotive industry, we can't compete with the Japanese. Well, we found out that actually we could compete with the Japanese. We compete so well against the Japanese that the Japanese decide to move a lot of their factories here in the United States. Why? Because we have some of the most productive workers in the world here in the United States when they're trained properly. I know, it's and plus with the fact that most of the problem, the biggest thing with a lot of our automotive industry, with the reason why a lot of our auto companies can't is because most of our automotive industry is unionized. And so therefore, it's very hard for them to be competitive because the union will go on strike and do whatever. You go south to these right to work states, that's where a lot of these companies are moving their businesses to. I think that's one of the reasons why Ohio is lagging behind, because Ohio is not currently, I do not believe, is a right to work state. So that means you can't remove the automotive union, and it makes it very hard to be competitive, which is why a lot of the factories are moving south to other places that are less unionized. In fact, it was kind of funny. I was watching. There's the triangle. They call it the Triangle. I think it's in Mississippi, and it's this area. They call it the Triangle because it's this area of I believe it's 3 towns. I saw this documentary, and the guy that's behind it all is bringing in all of these companies into this triangle area to build manufacturing. And I thought it was hilarious because they're creating all these new jobs there and they're not unionized. And the workers in one part of the thing are going, oh, this is great. I'm making more now than I worked when I was at this other place and under a union. But then at the end, of course, the news media had to get their shot in the fact that, well, the problem is they're not unionized. They just said they were making more money, non-union, than they were when they were under a union. So sometimes working with a union does not necessarily mean higher wages.
They
So-
got like $20 a week in for the union. I lost like $20.
Yeah, the other problem that you run into is you have companies where a position comes open and the people who get the first dibs at the position is the people with the most seniority, which means who's worked there the longest. So there are companies that are unionized where the custodian is making 60, 70, 80,000 a year because when they open the position up, the guy with the most seniority goes, I want that job, and he gets the job. Well, he's been working in the factory for 20 to 30 years, and by now, because of the continuous increase that is required, you have a guy who's making making $80,000 pushing a broom around. And actually, when you watch, he's probably spending most of his time reading his newspaper and not doing what he should be doing. So you have issues like that as well. Now, I'm not saying I am anti-union, because there are businesses I worked for that the best thing that could ever happen to the employees there would be to unionize because the management was so bad and so mean to their employees. I witnessed one owner of the company who found out he was making $1 million on a project, a non-union guy, go in and yell at his employees, telling them he was going to lay them all off because he wasn't making any money on the project. He had just made he had the paperwork and he was going to make $1 million. Nothing could have been better than to have this guy end up with having to pay his guys union wages for some of the stuff that they were doing. He abused them terribly. Regulating international trade, favorable balance of trade. The problem is we look at too much of the balance of trade and not the value of trade. And we need to look at what are we trading with other countries and what are we getting back from other countries. And in many respects, like, when we're buying these cheap trinkets from China that have no value to us, then yes, there's a problem. But think about how more productive we are with the iPhone, which is made in China. I mean, we can actually build wealth off of some of these things. Again, one of the greatest things that we do not talk about is the fact that America is the most creative country in the world. Look at all the creativity that comes out of the United States. We do not put a dollar value on that creativity. But that creativity is what generates more wealth. You know, everybody talks about economics. Well, there's a pie. Well, please, somebody tell me what part of the pie was Facebook? What got lost, what got cut out of the pie to put Facebook into that pie? It's not a pie.
MySpace.
Shh. But that's the thing, it's not really a pie. Wealth is generated, especially new wealth is created because of creativity. New wealth is generated by the discovery of a new pocket of oil in another place that's worth trillions of dollars or whatever. So you can't just look at this stuff and go, well, this is how it is. Protect certain industries, prevent the loss of jobs, protect infant industries. Again, you know, the more government gets involved in trying to do stuff like this, there's always the law of unintended consequences. There's always going to be a ripple effect. As I was talking about the sugar industry, because of the tariff on sugar, Lifesaver has gone to Canada to do all their manufacturing. Same thing with other type of stuff. It's the law of unintended consequences. Also, you got House International Trade Regulated. We've talked about that. Tariffs, quotas, subsidies, foreign currency controls. You know, we can set things on so that the value. One of the big things going on right now is that China accuses us of manipulating our currency for value. Because our currency fluctuates in value, their currency fluctuates in value. So one day it might take 2 of the Chinese dollars to meet one of the American dollars. Well, if that changes, that affects what value things are worth as well. You also have, here's some of the globalization, the GATT Treaty, 1947. Reciprocity was the first principle, second principle was most favored nation, and third principle was transparency. GATT is still, goes on today. You have the WTO, 1994, the expanded GATT. You have, I'm trying to think what the name of the 8 countries that make up the biggest trading blocks. There's a huge, the G8, that's what they call it, the G8 summit. They'll get together and they'll talk about trade agreements and stuff like that, which always makes me nervous. Regional trading blocks, European Union, North American, the NAFTA, and then the free trade area of the Americas. So some of these things, when the European Union formed, we formed NAFTA to try to combat that, because there was a fear that we wouldn't be able to compete with the European Union, which was just a laughing stock. So we formed NAFTA with Canada and Mexico to try to counteract that and make ourselves a bigger trading bloc to give us more clout as well. Arguments against globalization: threatens public health and the environment, lowering of trade barriers deprives Americans of jobs, not necessarily, promotes child labor and other exploitation of workers. When we buy products from China that are lower wages, because they pay lower wages, that's a concern. Also, there's also in China, there's slave labor. And some products are made in their prison camps. So there is a concern about stuff like that. Also, other countries, you go to, if you're trading with a country, something in Mexico, do they follow the same safety standards that we do? You buy your t-shirts from, or your clothes, which a lot of that is made in Indonesia and Vietnam and Thailand. How much of this is, again, slave labor? How does an American worker compete with somebody who is forced into slave labor basically for pennies a day? So that's some of the things that why we definitely need to put tariffs on some countries' products coming in. Economic support of globalization, lower living standards cause more trade restrictions. Just these are some of the things that you'll want to look at. Financing international trade. Of course, we've got rate of exchange. The book probably talked to you about where those currencies were and how the value this. You can actually make money by investing in currency. So you want to look at, hey, the yen is at this price. The yen, of course, is the Japanese currency. So you look at the value of the yen and you go, oh, it's a good time to invest in that. I'm gonna buy $1,000 of yen. And then, oh, look, the value of the yen compared to the dollar is better, so I'm gonna get more dollar for my yen. So people do that. That's what a lot of countries do, is they exchange money at certain times, and that can cause problems in certain countries as well. Developing nations differ. Level of development. We talked about slave labor in certain countries. Living standards, economics and political systems, cultural and historical background. Number of developing nations, traditional ways, religious beliefs. A shortage of capital. Some of these things is you can look at the developing nation, dependence on do we have a dependence on developed nations? Not really. The developing nations and their growth. One of the things that the great philosopher and humanitarian Bono from U2, he is, I'm of course being sarcastic there, but he is not necessarily a bad guy, but he is huge on developing Africa. And a number of years ago, he came out with the statement is, we don't need more money for Africa. We need more capitalism in Africa. Basically what he's saying is we need free markets in Africa so that we can raise the living standards of Africans rather than just continuing to give them handouts. So even Bono was learning the importance of economics in his beliefs. So again, like I was just saying, we need, in order to develop these other countries, you need capital investments. One of the stories from when Russia fell apart, when the Soviet Union dissolved and Russia was on their own, the Russian ministers were like, send us some advisors to help us kickstart our economy. Well, they then responded back when we started sending some of our advisors over. They said, stop sending us communists. We need capitalists. Because what all of our educational system now hates capitalism. They think capitalism is wrong. And even back during the 90s, there was this really big push for communism in a lot of our educational systems. That's why you see our leader, try to find somebody who's got a degree from Harvard Business School that's not a socialist. They're all socialists. Why? Well, because they go to school and learn from socialists. None of them are real capitalists, but yet they go and they run billion-dollar companies. They become CEOs and CFOs of all these big Fortune 500 companies, and yet they're all a bunch of socialists / communists. And so when they were going over to Russia, they were basically, well, you need command control, you need this. And so Russia's like, wait a minute, we've just been doing that for 60 years and didn't get anywhere. Send us some free market guys. Send us Walter Williams or Milton Friedman. So some of these guys who are known for being more capitalists. Okay, that's all I have. 2 more weeks left. And then you're free. Some of you are really free.
Free to the next word.